Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm here with Mr. White Walker and Mr. Pacemaker.
Hey.
And I'm glad that we have a few people on already. We will wait a moment here to get everyone on. And right now we are at the flat of Pacemakers here in Germany. Oh yeah, I keep on mixing them up. White Walkers. This is White Walkers flat. What's the name of the city that you're? Alan. So we're going to be on for an hour if we can, whatever we can, to be able to answer as many of your questions as we can here. And the questions can be not just for me, but for White Walker, for Pacemaker, about the TMB, about the AT. We already have, I know at least one question that someone asked on one of our channels because they couldn't make it for the live Q&A. So go ahead and you can use the chat box below. I'm just going to type in something right now so that you guys can get used to it. Same format that we've used before in the past with chatting and doing these Q&As. I know it's probably 3 or 4 o'clock depending on where you're at in the US, or you might even be out in the West Coast, so it's probably like 1 or 2 o'clock. So anyway, we're going to wait around here for a moment and we will get started with the Q&A with our first question. I know that we have a question in the queue right now, which is directed towards both Pacemaker and White Walker, so I'll probably get started with that first and then give everyone a chance to ask any questions that they want about our hike and past hikes. So let me just find the first question here. All right. So this first question is from Garrett. And Garrett asked, since I'll be working during Monday's Q&A, I'm curious as to what brought White Walker and Pacemaker to the U.S. to hike the AT when there are so many great hikes like the TMB closer to home for them. Also, what kind of training did you guys do before your AT through hike?
I would like to start with the training because we didn't train that much as you can imagine. Like a through hike is a totally different kind of hike. We did some day hikes. I think the longest hike was about 3 days or 4 days.
3 days. Yeah.
3 days, and just did the normal sports. But it's pretty hard to get trained for a through hike, because if you train by doing running or something, it's totally different than hiking 10, 12, 14 hours a day. So I think the most important thing is that you have a feeling for your body, how much you can take per day, and a good shape isn't bad, but the feeling for the body is the most important thing. So don't do too much in the beginning, and let it flow.
By the way, Pacemaker is a physical therapist. That's what his job is. So a little bit of expertise in that area. So what brought
the other part of the question?
Yeah. So what was the reason why the two of you decided to hike the AT instead of maybe doing something in your home country or home continent, Europe? Well, there's so many awesome hikes like we just did, the Tour de Mont Blanc.
I think there are many trails in Europe, but they are not like the AT. Not as wild as the AT. So you don't have like a stretch of 3 or 4 days without crossing a street or a town or something else. And I think this is the biggest difference between the trails here in Europe and the AT or PCT in the US. And our idea to hike the AT was right at Christmas 2015, I guess.
I just learned that. A couple days ago. I didn't know that's when you...
Yeah. So we were drinking a couple of beers at Christmas, 25th? Yeah, 25th. And after a few beers, especially men decide sometimes stupid things, or do sometimes stupid things. But this time we decided to do or to hike the trail because we both were able to take a little bit of time, so half a year off. Yeah.
So I know everyone has different ways and different reasons why they hike the AT. I spent 17 days on the trail with both of them, and now we've spent about another 10 days together here this last week. But my understanding is there was a video or something that someone made about the AT in German, right? That sparked interest.
It was the film, the movie to the book of Bill Bryson. The how's it in
A Walk in the
English?
Woods?
Walk in the Woods, yeah. Yeah, that was the first time we heard about the AT. And yeah, maybe if I read something about the PCT, we had hiked the PCT and never met you again. Met you, so it was the right decision at the right time. Yeah?
There's also a documentary about the AT, a German one.
Yes, a German one.
Yeah.
Which is
I've never
sparked
read
a lot
the
of
book,
interest.
and I've never seen the movie, so I only seen the documentation in German. It's a pretty good one.
I know there's a lot of Germans on the trail, and I know that a lot of Germans found out about the AT because of this documentary, and kind of cool. Okay, so we got another question, but before we go into that, I just want to make sure that everyone can hear us loud and clear. I haven't seen any comments about us not. I have my microphone hooked up to the phone here, so if you guys have a chance, just comment. Even just if you don't have a question, just say hello. We got about 8 patrons on right now. I know people are probably getting off work and everything like that, but we did get a comment from Chris Mays. But I just want to make sure that you guys can hear us loud and clear and everything's working. I have the volume shut off on our end, or else it creates problems with the background noise. So if you get a chance, just comment saying that everything is, you can hear us loud and clear, that everything's going good. And we're going to go into our next comment, which is, I think this is directed towards both of you. Please tell me that both of you got the opportunity to see the German and Sweden game somehow, and the ending of that. So, what do you guys want to take that question?
I start the question. We had the opportunity to watch the game, and we saw it in a bar. It was awesome. Can you tell me something about the end of the game?
I haven't seen the goal live because at this time I was at the toilet.
Yeah, you were in the bathroom. Yeah.
And right when I'm coming out, so I haven't no opportunity to look at the TV screen, but I looked at the other guys and they just freaking out. So I knew what happened.
Yeah, so we planned part of our trip around the Germany soccer game to be able to be in a town, to be able to watch the game. So the first game, which was on the first night on the trail, which was Sunday, I think, right?
Sunday, yeah.
We had the opportunity of watching that, and unfortunately, not a great result. Mexico beat Germany 1-0, but then we were in what was the name of the town? Champex?
Champex.
Is that how you pronounce it? Champex on Saturday, and we got there like at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and we had plenty of time to get settled in and be able to eat dinner, and then go watch the game. Now, as funny as it is, the earliest start that we had was the day after Germany won, which these guys had so much to drink that I don't even know how the heck they got up so early. I got a couple of videos, which I will not post, about the celebration, but it was a lot of fun. And I was a part of it, so it was a blast. But yes, we absolutely got a chance to be able to watch it and be able to celebrate. Looks like Leah says that she can hear us. She's from Texas, and she's listening along while she's working. Awesome. I'm glad that that audio is working great and everything. All right. What surprised you about this trail versus the American trails that you have completed? All right. So I guess both of us have done both. I don't know who it's directed towards, but I'll take that first. What surprised me the most about the Tour de Mont Blanc was, I guess, there was lots of similarities with the AT in terms of simplicity of being able to resupply, it's actually way more frequent. You could hike the Tour de Mont Blanc and not have to carry a tent. Just bring a packed lunch during the day because you can eat breakfast and dinner at the Refuge or the Refugio, or if you're in town every single day. But the views, the landscapes that you see was probably what surprised me the most. I knew that it was going to be just incredible just seeing pictures of it, but pictures don't do justice when you're actually up in some of these areas, which every day you are going somewhere between 7,000 to 9,000 feet of elevation, which doesn't sound like it's really high compared to like my last hike, which was up on the JMT in the High Sierra, where we're above 10,000 feet all the time. But the breathtaking views that you see, which I thought the best views, by the way, were in Italy. I don't know what you guys think, but that was probably what surprised me the most. Comparing it to other trails, I would say that this particular trail, I guess another thing that surprised me was the amount of climbing and the amount of ascent that you had to do. I didn't really look and do a lot of research because that was Pacemaker's job. And every single climb was typically a minimum of 700 meters, which is over 2,000 feet, maybe 2,300 feet. But a lot of climbs that we did was over 1,000 meters, and that's just nonstop ascending until you either hit the pass or maybe you have a bit of a break before you make your next ascent. It reminded me of some of the more difficult ascents or the longer ascents in the northern part of the AT. Completely different than what is out on the John Muir Trail, where you take maybe 20 miles, 50 miles to climb up 4,000 feet. We're climbing up 2,000 to 3,000 to 4,000 feet in a matter of a couple miles, 3 miles. I think the average ascent that I was looking at on the trail is about 750 to 850 feet per mile, which the average on the AT, if you just take averages, which can get you in trouble when you just look at averages, but average AT is like 238 or something, 250. In the more difficult parts, it might be like 400. So this was 750 to 850, how much elevation you're gaining per mile. So that's when you're climbing, of course. I don't know, what do you guys think? What surprised you the most about the TMB compared to...
First the views.
The views?
The views, yeah, definitely. And yeah, the long uphill part, I knew it's in the Alps. There are always big mountains, and you have to do like big uphill parts. But the views was just amazing. And I will say the snow was really fun.
Yes.
Snow fun.
It was snow fun.
So nice.
I mean, like there was in the beginning we hit some snow in the first day, right?
Yeah.
Just a little bit. But when we got into probably days like 3 to 5, 3 to 6, there were some parts where we were going through maybe a meter of snow, maybe more. Actually,
Italy,
the
French area.
Yeah, when we were going, what was the that one pass we went over where we glissaded and started skiing?
Col de Four.
Col de Four, which we took the high road on this, and there had to be more than a meter of snow, maybe 2 meters, maybe, I don't know, which is like 6 feet of snow. So yeah, I forgot about that. There was a lot of snow on the trail. Cool. Well, we'll get to the next question. We could probably talk about this the entire hour. Okay. It's so great to listen to you all live while so far away, and it's already nighttime there. Your adventure sounds so amazing. We had such a blast. We were on trail, I guess, technically for a solid week. We started on Sunday at about 10:40 a.m. and we got done at 10:30 a.m. the following Sunday. So it was like pretty much a week, but we really enjoyed it. We would, if those of you that follow me on my GPS, if you follow me, we went up the ascents really fast. What's different about this hike compared to any hike in like America is they measure everything by time, not by kilometers, not by miles or anything like that, of course, because we're in the metric system, but it's by time. So to get to a peak, it tells us on the signs it's going to be like 2 hours and 50 minutes or whatever. And I think every ascent we climbed we did it in half the time or less. So if it called for 2 hours, we did an hour. I mean, we busted our rear ends to get up, and but then we would almost every single refuge, any place that we could possibly get a beer or a drink, or maybe even a snack at, we stayed at, and we would hang out for an hour, maybe an hour and a half. Anytime that we had a view, we sat up there for at least 45 minutes, so we really took time to enjoy every single component of the hike, and the views were the best. All right, how did your trekking poles hold up? Awesome. I had absolutely zero issues with my Lakey Carbon Max, and we not only did we do some pretty big ascents, but we did some steep descents, parts where I was putting a lot of pressure on the trekking poles, and there was a couple times, because we were going through so much snow, there was a couple times where I fell down in the snow, and my trekking poles got caught in the snow, and I didn't have any of the pole bend. Obviously it didn't break. They're pretty solid, so I was really impressed. My tips, no issue. As you remember, on the last trail I did, the Ozark Trail, after the first day I broke one of my tips, and the second day I broke one of my trekking poles, and those were aluminum. So for the Lakeys, which to date I have not had a Lakey, and I'll knock on wood here, I have not had a Lakey pole break on me yet. But so far so good. Nothing bad to report. The only thing that I don't like, two things I don't like actually about the Carbon Core Max poles. Number one, I wish they had core candles. And number two, I mean, they're heavier. They're almost the weight of aluminum poles. So do you really want to go with carbon when you can get aluminum poles for about the same weight? You know, I don't know. But performance-wise, I had absolutely no issues with how they performed on the trail and how durable they held up. All right. I recently backpacked in the San Juanito Mountains and had terrible altitude sickness once I hit 9,000 feet. Have you ever experienced altitude sickness? If so, how would you deal with it? Okay, I am going to give this to Pacemaker.
Yeah, this was right after a high pass. It's called Col Ferret or Col Ferret. I think it was the best view on the whole trail. We had an altitude that was maybe about 8,000 feet.
Yeah, it was just over 8,000.
Yeah,
800 feet.
Yeah, and yeah, it was very cold at the top because the wind was blowing very, very fast. And then we did a fast hike down the snow and did a bit of sliding down the snow. And after this, I felt a little bit like sick, and I had problems with my stomach and a little bit dizzy. I don't know the right words for sure. Yeah, but this was about maybe 6 o'clock in the evening, and when we get to the Refuge, I didn't felt like eating or something. I just
which is crazy. If you know Pacemaker, he loves to eat. So for him to skip dinner is a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't sure if I had the problems because of the sun, because we were hiking the whole day. Yeah, in the sun, and it was a hot day. Yeah, but maybe it was also a problem with the altitude. And my favorite thing I had on the AT, I also had one day where I felt really, really bad, and I think we could hike less than 10 miles or something. It was really bad, and I couldn't really move and felt dizzy and bad and everything. And there was a guy, he gave me a mix of magnesium, calcium, like those vitamins.
Vitamins.
Yeah, kind of this mix you put in the water and stir around and drink. And the most important thing is to sleep, I guess. Yeah. On the AT, I know it was 14 hours of sleep, and the next day it was good. This time it was about, I went to bed at
12 hours.
7 or
Yeah,
I don't
you
know,
slept
it was
about 12 hours.
12 hours of sleep, and the next day it was really good. So yeah, drink a lot, having some vitamins or yeah, like magnesium, calcium, this stuff, And sleeping is, I think, the most important thing, yeah. Because on the trail you don't have much you can take, yeah, or you can do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I personally, I've never dealt with altitude sickness. I've been as high as 14,505 feet on Mount Whitney last year, and I was above 10 to 12,000 feet for most of the JMT. So I can't really add anything into that, but definitely something to take from Pacemaker, because this was your second time, right?
Yeah.
AT, and then this time, and that's how it worked really well for him with those couple of things that he did with sleep, hydrating, and taking some vitamins. So, all right, let's see. Hey guys, glad to see that you're safe. Enjoyed following your path. That is from Kemp. Thank you so much. We're totally safe. We did so. We any chance that we could take. We took the high route, except for the very last day, because the very last day was the day after the German soccer game.
Oh, there was bad weather the last day.
Well,
We
if you
wouldn't
call
have
it,
any
yeah, I
bad
don't know
view,
if you
no,
can call it bad weather. It was cloudy. It was. We had perfect weather the entire
rainy
time.
and cloudy.
Yeah, but it wasn't thunderstorm.
No view.
We had perfect weather the entire time. Sunny. We got so lucky. But we didn't do the last high route, which was about another 600 meters or so up, which probably worked out good because these guys were hungover, and Pacemaker was moving a little slow. I was right behind you. I let you pass me. Most of the time, these guys were leading. So, but yeah, it was a blast. Okay, let's go to the next question here. For the Germans, what is their favorite or key piece of gear that they always bring? Favorite piece of gear or a key piece of gear that you always bring on your hikes?
My favorite one, I would say my air mattress, because that's so comfortable to sleep.
Which one do you have?
The Tamarest, what is it called? Neo
Air X Lite.
Air X Lite.
Yeah, White Walker has the same air mattress that I use, the Neo Air X Lite, and you have that on the AT too, right?
Yeah.
It's the same mattress. Yeah. Okay, so yours is the mattress.
I would say
favorite piece of gear. Okay. What about yours?
I would say mine is the trekking poles. Even if you do just a little hike or a small hike, use your trekking poles. It's so much easier. And what surprised me on the TMB was there were so many people hiking without trekking poles. That steep climb up and down. I don't know how their knees made it, but yeah, they were very slow and they had bandage. Is it bandage?
Yeah, bandage. Yep.
Bandage and everything. So never go without the trekking poles. Yeah.
Yeah, we saw this a lot on the AT too, didn't we? I mean, either people didn't have trekking poles or they weren't really using them right, which is why I made that video. But you know, I'll just throw on mine. I think you guys probably know. It's kind of a toss-up between my trekking poles and my duplex tent. Although I didn't bring my duplex tent on this hike. I wanted to get the Solplex out there, which did phenomenal. But I can't hike without my trekking poles. All right, we'll go to the next question. I know it's too soon to ask, but where will your next adventure take you? Okay, well, I do have my next adventure set, which is I'm going to do my next attempt of the Superior Hiking Trail FKT, which is going to be at the end of September. My birthday's on the 28th of September, and I think it's like a Friday. So I might just try to start on my birthday just to say I'm hiking on my birthday. I got a lot of training to do before that. I have been so busy with getting our house ready, with us moving in and everything, that I really haven't had a lot of time to be able to put attention on that. So that's my next hike. Next year, one thing that will be happening that I've already committed to that is going to happen is in somewhere in January, I'm going to go on a hike on the Florida Trail, do a 60-mile section of the Florida Trail with Team Z Packs. So that's just going to be a weekend trip, and it'll be a lot of fun. We've kind of talked about getting together some point in time. I don't know who else is going to be on there. I believe it's going to be Red Beard, and then Matt, which you would have seen his video that he did, Trail Days. His trail name is Details. They just got done doing the long trail, and then probably a few other people from Z-Packs, but I don't know exactly. But those are the next two that I know for sure. What about you guys? Do you guys know what your next adventure is?
I don't have any plans yet, but one hiking trail in Europe that's definitely on my list is the GR20 on the island Corsica. It's about 2 to 3 week of hiking. And this is supposed to be also one of the nicest hiking trails in Europe. So maybe next year, I don't know, I haven't planned yet.
Is that, how many kilometers is that?
Let me think. It's about the same, maybe, kilometers. I think it's less than 200.
Okay.
But it takes you also 2 weeks roundabout.
Cool.
Yeah. It's pretty much ascending and descending, so...
Okay,
yeah, and
just like the TMB.
Yeah, but it's pretty lonesome, so you don't get that much
People.
village or people or something. Yeah.
Which we like. We like hiking.
Yeah.
I think all of us agree. We like to hike not when there's not so many people out. We'll tell you, the TMB, the time frame that we picked was perfect because school is school just getting out right now or is about to get out?
It depends.
It depends.
In Germany,
depending on
it's 1 month.
Okay.
School.
Yeah, I think
No,
in
Bavaria
France the vacation starts on July 1st.
July 1st. Okay.
Yeah, something.
Well, on the TMB, July and August are crazy busy months. It's the most popular times to be on the TMB. The day that we got off, which was a Sunday, we saw, I don't know, maybe 50 people going up. Now, it was a Sunday, so there were some day hikers, but there was 50 people that passed us going out of Triant, heading up, going the opposite direction that we were, which was the most that I had seen and I had passed. It was relatively, and we were on the higher routes, but, you know, on the average day, how many people do you think we saw on the TMB? Maybe...
An average a day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
150 something,
Yeah.
maybe?
Around. There were some guided tours, like, can you remember Col de Balm? The
Yes.
first day, like the Asian group
Yeah,
of
the
people.
Asian
Yes.
group, yeah,
There
and
were
then,
at least 30, 40 people, so
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But I would definitely like recommend if you want to do this hike, the end of June, which you're gonna see some snow if there's a lot of snow like this year. But I tell you, if you don't want to deal with crowds and have to pass a ton of people or have tons of people passing you, I think this was a good time to go.
And do the high route, I guess.
Yeah, the high
Because
route.
Even if the high route means you have to do more meters up and more meters down. Sometimes you save maybe meters.
Yeah.
Supposed to save.
Yeah, so just on that quick note, with these high routes, which I think are technically, how many are there? Like 3 or 4, technically?
Yeah.
3 or 4 high routes?
About this.
You know, I wouldn't recommend it if you're afraid of hiking through snow. I wouldn't recommend it because there's some people out there that just don't want to do that. But the Col de Fleur, is that?
Yeah.
I mean, it was so fun because first off, you know, we were in a couple meters of snow, but you could glissade down that, which means you basically sit on your butt and you can slide down safely on this part, so you're not going to be hitting rocks and going off the edge of a mountain or anything like that. But some people, that's not for them. One of the high routes that we took, we thought it was a high route, but we found out that it's not a high route. It's just a different trail, and that was a little scary. That was probably our scariest moment of the entire trip. I wouldn't recommend that, but you're not going to find that on the map as a high route.
Yeah, you also find every time on the high road footprints of other people. So
Maybe if you don't find footprints, don't go this way.
Yeah, maybe if you don't find footprints.
That's what we learned.
Yeah. Okay, I saw Bigfoot's gear list. This is directed to both of you. Were you able to keep warm enough, or did you wish you brought warmer gear or another layer?
No.
For your gear.
no, this was no problem because the time we stayed above. How high was the refuge? It was
The last refuge?
highest points were about.
Oh,
2,000 maybe.
meters.
Meters,
2,000 meters.
yeah.
So over 6,000 feet. 6,200 feet maybe was the highest we
Yeah.
stayed at.
Yeah, maybe this at this high we could get some problems with the thickness or the temperature, but we stayed in the refuge and this was no problem. and in the lower points you had no
Yeah,
problems.
I brought my inlay, but
You never
I
used
never
it.
used it, and every night I slept only with a boxer short. So
Yeah. Yeah, so what I brought a 30-degree quilt. They brought what would be equivalent to about a 40-degree, and we didn't I didn't have any issues with being cold at all. I didn't bring any layers outside of what you guys saw, just with my down jacket. I actually never I think I made okay, I think we're back on. Sorry about that. So anyway, getting back to the temperature, I think the temperature at the coldest that it might have got was the last refuge that we stayed at. I think it was a little cold when we went out for dinner, and you know, it was probably like 35 degrees, which would be maybe 1 or 2, 3 degrees Celsius. You think?
no,
You think
it was warmer.
You think it's more than that
Yeah.
with the wind and
Sure.
everything?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know with the wind. I don't know.
So Germinator had a how's it called to measure the temperature?
Oh, thermometer.
Yeah. In the campground we stayed, and he said it was 7 degrees Celsius,
Okay.
the lowest point.
Okay.
So, it's about,
So 7 degrees was the lowest. It wasn't that bad at all, to be quite honest. And you know, and this is at the end of June when it's going to be probably the coldest. I tell you, during the day though, it got really warm. Yeah, in Fahrenheit, I bet you it got up to 80. Maybe. Do you think it was over 80? I don't know if you know what 80 is. What 80, it was warm, and I tell you what, you're above tree line for most of the hike. Most of the time you're above tree line, so you make sure you bring sunscreen. There are times where I honestly wish I would have brought my umbrella. We didn't get any rain. Wouldn't have used my umbrella for rain, but it would have been nice to have some shade when it was really getting warm and hot. Especially with just the sun on your neck, and with all the snow that we got and the reflection of the snow off of us. I mean, you can see our lips got all sunburned, and it was pretty bad. All of us got sunburned at some point in time on the hike. Okay, my new jacket. How did my new jacket work? You know what? I thought it was fantastic. It was, again, I didn't see anything below 7 degrees or whatever. So I never needed to layer up over my Patagonia shirt. The one thing that takes a little while to get used to is not having any pockets. So this plasma down jacket from Montbell doesn't have any pockets. It's totally minimalist, and I'm still not used to that. There was probably 4 or 5 times where I wanted to put my hands in the pocket, not because it was really cold, but it was just comfortable and there's no pockets. But there was not a point in time where I was cold in it. I would like to get a chance to be able to be in some colder conditions, just to kind of push what the limits are. The comfort limit for me, everyone's going to be different, but I'm probably going to just be bringing that jacket with me on the Superior Hiking Trail, and I don't even know if I'll bring my quarter zip hoodie. I never use it now, and it probably won't get cooler than that on the trail. I can always layer up with my rain jacket, which we used our rain jackets every day. Every single day we use our rain jackets to in the morning, just to get warmed up, and then most of the time we got on the passes, because we would sit up there for 45 minutes. We used our rain jackets as a windbreaker. That's probably one of my other favorite pieces of gear that I absolutely have to have, and that I probably use that piece of clothing more than anything else is my rain jacket. Bugs or mosquitoes? When do you guys want to take that? Were there any bugs or mosquitoes on the trail?
No bugs, no ticks, no mosquitoes, nothing.
Yeah, I can't recall a time when I got bit. Let's see. I thought wasn't there a day where, or was that when we were in Germany where I wanted to open up the window? Oh no, Courmayeur. Remember, we're staying in Courmayeur, and you guys wanted to keep the windows shut for mosquitoes, and it was so warm. We stayed at the Hotel de Mont Blanc, and it was so warm because they didn't have air conditioning in there, but we kept the windows open, and we had no issues with bugs the entire time. Which, by the way, something I learned on the trail and didn't know so most of the trail is in France. 50%. Would you say about 50% of this trail goes to France? They're called refuge, right? Refuge. Refuge is what the refuges are called. Now, once you get in Italy, it's refugio. I know someone commented in one of my videos that they're called refugios. Well, it's only in Italy. And Italy, we were only in Italy for a couple days. Outside of Italy, when you're in Switzerland and when you're in France, it's refuge. So didn't know that. I thought everything was refugio, but that's not the case. I got corrected on that by a lady at one of the refuges. Okay, where are we at? Okay, thank you, Pacemaker. You described exactly. I think this is going back to the altitude sickness. Mm-hmm. You described exactly how I felt as well. The fatigue and lack of appetite was like nothing I've ever experienced. I will try some electrolytes next time. Thank you, guys. Quick thoughts on the Sawyer 1 filter. I used the Sawyer 1 filter about 2 times on like the first day, and you know, it's just not practical for a through hike with the Sawyer, with the S1. First of all, it's really heavy, and I knew that going into it, but I wanted the opportunity of just trying it out, seeing how it goes. I bought it off of Amazon about the week before I left, and so of course you got it's I think it's like 10 ounces of weight, so it's really heavy. And then the second is when you're trying to fill it up with the foam filter, to fill it up with the water stream or something like that is really difficult because it's not like you are filling up, you know, your typical bag or hydration bladder or water bottle. So when you're trying to fill it up, it takes a little time for it to sink down into the foam filter. The easiest is if you have like a faucet or running water off a stream or something like that to fill it up, and it just wasn't practical. You know, I would say that I probably wouldn't. I want to do a little more research on it and test it out a couple more times before I give you my final review. But I would say that I probably wouldn't waste your money on the S1 because a lot of the regular filters out there will do what the S1 does. But when you get the S2 or S3, which filters out viruses, or the S3 filters out heavy metals and things like that, if you're going to some countries that just have really poor water sources, it would make sense. I could see why, you know, that would make a lot of sense to be able to make sure that you really have, you know, sanitized, clean water in some of these, you know, third world countries or poor water source areas of wherever you're hiking. But for a lot of the hikes I've done and will be doing, I don't foresee myself needing anything more than what the traditional water filter gives, which lately I've been using the Be Free because I love the flow rate and I love the simplicity and how wide the neck is. But at this current moment in time, I really don't think that the S1 is. I would just go with the S2 or the S3 if you're going with that because of the extra features you get. It's a little bit more expensive, but definitely not practical for a through hike by any means. All right. Since you were crossing borders, were there official border crossings where you had to check in with your passport as you entered and left countries? No, never. Since I landed in Frankfurt, I haven't had to show my passport once I got out of customs. Driving through, I actually asked this question: is there anywhere traveling in Europe that you would need to have your passport when you're passing countries at all to show them?
No.
Normally, the borders are open in every country of the EU and Switzerland. Yeah, just now at the moment there's some border controls between Germany and Austria because of the refugees and everything, but not in the area of the TMB, so it's very easy to get through. And
yeah, I did bring my passport just because I didn't know. And secondly, I just felt better having my passport with me instead of leaving it in our car.
At the hotel, we needed.
At the hotel, we needed a passport, and I noticed.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Refuges in Slovenia. In Slovenia, there's a law. When you stay in the refugio, you have to give them your passport, and yeah, so you can.
Good
stay
point.
there,
I totally forgot about that. So yeah, when we stayed in, actually stayed in the hotel in Courmayeur, we had to give everyone had to give their passport or their ID. So I did have to give it up that one time. So yeah, so I guess you would need it technically. Which, by the way, so if I did the TMB again, or if I can give you my best advice as to how to plan it, I thought that counterclockwise worked out really well. Triant, I'd have to look at a map and tell you precisely, which I'll do a video on this later. Triant was a great way to get started. There was kind of a steep climb coming out of it. I think there's a couple other options that you can go through that won't be as steep, just to get you kind of warmed up on it. But one thing I know for sure is if you have the time, I would definitely plan a 0 in Courmayeur, Italy. It was my first time in Italy. I had ate 2 dinners that night. We ate a dinner early because I wanted pasta and I wanted pizza later on. By far the best pasta I have ever had. I hope my grandpa is not watching. My grandpa is 100% Italian on my mom's side, and he makes amazing pasta, but this was really, really good. But there are so many things to do, and if you go down the center of Courmayeur, they have all these shops, and it would have been nice if we would have had time, and we could have made time, but we didn't. I didn't really know about it, but I would definitely try to spend a 0 Courmayeur. Totally worth it. All right, next question. Did you go through immigration on the trail when passing from country to country? If so, how did that go? Kind of, I guess, similar question to the one before. No immigration from country to country, and I don't, in the EU, the European Union, which we were all in the countries in the European Union, we never had that issue.
No.
So, nope. All right. What piece of equipment that you either own or want to have that would have made the journey a better experience for everyone? So what piece of gear or equipment did you either own or want to have that would have made the journey a little bit better? What would you? A Sherpa. I don't know if a Sherpa is a piece of gear. What do you guys think?
Yeah, maybe something for your head, like sun hat, or I saw some guys they had like a towel in the neck or something to save your head from the sun. That would be a good idea. You need a cappy or a hat or a bump or something to save your neck and your face
Absolutely.
from burning. Yes, and sunscreen. Sunscreen is incredible and expensive in every town on the trail. So.
Yep, absolutely. Make sure you have enough sunscreen. What do you think? You think the same?
No, I think everything was fine though.
Nothing that you wish you would have had.
No.
I was ultralight and they had all their bases covered. Well, I'll give a couple things. So, first, I would have brought my umbrella. If you have a nice sun hat, you probably don't need that, but there's so many things you can do with an umbrella. I wish I probably would have brought my umbrella. One piece of gear that I did not have, and I kept on taking of Pacemakers, would strongly recommend you have a place that you can take a shower every single night on the trail. Whether it's in a town, whether it's in a campground, which there's multiple campgrounds. You can't camp actually on the trail, so you have to camp when you're in these towns or at the Refuge or the Refugio. But I did not bring a towel. I didn't really think about it. I didn't think it was necessary because I'm not used to bringing anything more than the size of what my buff is. Well, with all of this, we took a shower every single night. I kept on borrowing Pacemakers, and I wish I would have brought in something that I could have used myself. So definitely recommend. You're going to want to take showers, especially with all the climbing that you're doing, every single chance that you can get, which you'll have a chance every single night on the trail. And then also make sure that you have enough shampoo or soap. I brought my Dr. Bronner's, and unfortunately after the third or fourth day, I was halfway through, I think I left it in one of the showers, so I am having to use Pacemakers again, but I would have ran out. I didn't bring enough soap because I didn't expect to be able to take a shower every single night. So that was something that was different for me as well. All right, I think that's the last question that we have here. I saw someone. I thought I saw an email come through, but that's for something else. Okay, looks like we got another question. So by the way, we are going to stay on for about another 14 minutes. We'll be on for an entire hour. And if we run out of questions, there's a couple things that I know that I want to talk about. We can do that. But if you have any questions, make sure you place them below now. Bigfoot, do you have any issues with your pack or anything in your pack that caused problems with at the airport, either leaving the U.S. or when you landed? Is there a place to buy fuel when you land? All right, first off, my backpack. I didn't have any issues, so what I did is I brought my Nero, and I decided to not check anything. I didn't want the issue where the possibility of me losing my luggage going overseas, which originally when I was supposed to leave, my layover in Chicago was only an hour. I was really worried that they would be able to get my luggage to the next flight, because if they didn't, I can't be out my backpacking gear. So I brought a carry-on suitcase, and then my actual personal item was my backpack. So that's what I did, and it worked out great. Now, what I did when I was in the JMT is I checked my luggage when I went over to Reno, is what I flew into. And I'll tell you, it was, if you have a small enough pack that is small enough to be a personal item, like my Z-Pax Nero was, or even my Arc Blast I think would be, I would just carry it on. Just remember, you can't have fuel, you can't have a knife. I almost forgot that until I was doing my gear list walkthrough, and I noticed I still had my knife, and I ditched that. Another thing about my pack too, it was light enough where I never had to use my my hip belt, and it was amazing. I felt like free to not have to have my hip belt around my waist. Not only was it a lot more cool in terms of, you know, not having that belt wrapped around you that just after a while it just gets hot and sticky, but I just felt a lot more free. So I definitely, you know, the next time I do a long distance through hike, you know, PCT, I would really like to be able to have my gear dialed in enough where I wouldn't need to have a hip belt and bring something minimal like my Z-Pax Nero. It was so comfortable. I had no issues with my shoulders, with all the weight being on my shoulders, which I didn't really carry any food. We carried maybe a day's worth of snacks. So my pack probably maxed out at maybe at 14 pounds, at 13 pounds at one point in time when I had both my waters filled up and some food. Now, in terms of fuel, was there a place to buy fuel when I landed? I didn't look for any fuel. I never even used my stove. I think one night we used a stove, right?
Yes.
That was a campground.
Yeah.
We got into
Make it 2 nights.
2 nights.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, where we had to eat at the campground where there was no food. Yeah.
I thought that was the night I was talking about. What was the other night?
The
The
night
first-
before.
No, the first.
First night.
No, we had the buffet at the
Yeah.
campground.
We're in Les Rouges and
But
Les
I
Rouges?
ate 2 of my.
yeah, me too.
Les Rouges? Well, there was one, we got into camp so late that nothing was open, so we had to eat some of our backpacking food. But if you get there early enough,
Yeah.
there's always a place
Les
to eat
Rouges.
dinner.
Yeah,
But
they-
fuel, where would you be able to buy fuel if someone was doing
Everywhere.
this trail?
Okay.
Everywhere? No
Yeah.
issue with
So
finding
you
it?
can buy it on the trail and every campground. I
Yep.
think even the Refuges had
Did they?
some. Yeah, and you can buy it in a normal supermarket, like like you find everyone. And on the trail, there's so many outfitter stores. It's very easy to get everything you need from them. You know, I think every town we passed has at least 1 or 2 outfitters. So
Yeah. Yep, totally. So yeah, no issues with finding fuel, but personally I never had to use it. All right, looks like we're out of questions, so I got a couple myself, and if a couple more pool in, we'll answer them. What was your favorite experience of the trail?
Yeah, I think my favorite one was going down Col de Four. It was
I'd say the
really,
same thing.
really fun
That's my
skiing
thing
down.
too.
I think how much meters in altitude was 800 meters?
I think we were at 8,600, 8,500.
Yeah, that was crazy. Yeah, this was really, really, really fun. Yeah, and yeah, and not a bit of danger, so it was just fun. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and also my favorite view was on Col de Ferret on the border to Switzerland. Italy to Switzerland. This was amazing. I never saw such a view. It was great.
And this is, I think this is the picture I chose for this thumbnail, this Q&A.
Yes.
All four of us,
No.
we went up there. It was really windy. Really windy. I don't know, maybe 40 miles an hour wind.
Like Mount Washington, yeah.
Yeah, it was like Mount Washington. But yeah, totally awesome views. I agree. Col de Four was my favorite experience because I glissaded down about half the mountain, and it was so much fun to have be able to actually glissade down a safe part and not have to worry about hitting rocks or going off side of the mountain if you can't stop or slow down or anything like that. Yeah, okay, opposite. What was, we're all probably going to say the same thing, but what was maybe the scariest moment? Was there a scary moment on the trail?
Yeah. One thing that's not very nice is somewhat the toilet situation, because especially in Italy and France they like holes, so...
Yeah.
That's,
so what Pacemaker is talking about is in certain countries and in all of the refugios that we saw in Italy, instead of having a toilet, it's just a hole in the it's tile. There's tile, but it's just a hole. So it is different because I've heard about this from Miss Bigfoot, but to actually see it, we never chose to go to the bathroom in the hole when we had to go number 2. So it's interesting. I can imagine maybe how you do it, but nothing that I would like to do. I don't know, my scariest moment is when we did this alternative. We thought we were on the high route, and it turned out being just a separate trail that we were the only ones that had probably been on it since last year. There's no footprints, but we had to traverse a snowfield that was pretty steep, and it probably took us maybe 15 minutes to be able to dig our feet in the snow and follow our footprints to get through probably maybe like
20 meters or something.
20 meter section. But we were really careful because again it was really steep. And then you probably saw, some of you might have saw on my Instagram page, but when we were descending back down to the regular TMB, a small boulder dislodged off the mountain and literally like just slid down the mountain. And luckily Pacemaker heard it because he looked up and he was 2 meters from this boulder, and it just slid right by him. And we kind of made fun of it.
It was twice as big as him.
Yeah, it was about twice as big. It didn't look as big in the picture, but that was kind of scary. And me and White Walker were maybe like 200 meters up.
No, not 200.
You don't think it was 200 meters?
No,
100 meters up?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. So we saw this. We were above it, but we just saw it slide right by Pacemaker. But that was pretty crazy. So that was mine. Got another question. Is the fuel there the same as what we might use in the U.S., or would it work with our stoves? Or maybe you don't know since you've never bought any.
It's the same.
Yeah, it's the same. So these guys use while they are on the trail Jetboil, right? That's the stove that you guys use. Yes. On the AT and you guys use.
No, the AT we had what is MSR?
Oh yeah, the MSR. Yeah. But today you use
with the fuel pump. You can use gas and regular fuel. So yeah, but you can buy in Germany.
Yeah,
well,
the canister fuels. Yeah,
the same one.
Yeah, yep, absolutely the same. All right, I think that wraps up the questions. So I guess I got one last question that each of us can can answer if there's anyone in. Oh, looks like Robert Thomas just got in. How far did you go? I don't know exactly. If you want to clarify that, Robert Thomas, as in terms of how far did we go? We went around the whole Tour de Mont Blanc, which was 160 kilometers, right? Is what it ended up being. What was the best German beer that you had? So every time that we were at a refuge or a refugio, most of the time they always had beers and I had Coke because I really don't enjoy drinking a beer in the middle of a hike. I don't know. It's just what I do. But I like this. This is really good.
Yeah, that's how did it go?
What's that?
It's the cheapest one you can get.
This is the cheapest one you can get. It's a Radler. It's lemonade and beer, kind of like the summer shandy. I actually really like these Radlers. We were at a beer garden earlier today, and I tried his Radler, and I really liked it. So that's what I'm drinking right now, and it's probably the one that I've liked so far the most. But I've probably only had about 4 or 5 German beers. All the beers I've had, though, have been really good. There hasn't been any that I thought were nasty.
A lot of beer we had were Italian or...
there was a few Italian, maybe a couple... Was there a French beer?
I don't know.
I don't remember. Yeah. But, yeah, I like the Radlers. Okay. So, what would you recommend for future TMBers? Anything that any words of wisdom about the Tour de Mont Blanc?
Yeah, take your time and enjoy the views. Yeah.
So take your time. So White Walker says, take your time, enjoy the views. What do you think, Pacemaker?
It depends if you like to hike with a tent or if you like to hike with staying in the refuges. And yeah, it is an easy hike if you stay in the refuge because you don't need much package. But I think it's also very nice if you stay in a tent, and yeah, if you're a bit low of budget, it's also very good to have your tent with you. And yeah, it's a beautiful tour. Take your time, and I think if you get there and the weather is not that nice, take a day off if it's possible and hike the other day up, because there, especially the passes and the mountains, the view is incredible. And if you get there, it's just cloudy and you can't see anything. The climbing isn't worth it. So.
Yeah, you're just hiking to hike, basically.
Yeah, I would say similar. Definitely take your time. Would recommend, you don't need a ton of gear like you do on a regular thru hike. You can make your experience a lot more pleasant. If budget is not an issue, I would try to stay at a refugio or a refuge every single night that you can. Now, some of them had great food, some had not so great food. One that we would stay at, which was the first one when you cross back into Switzerland, I believe. Yeah, the first one you cross back into Switzerland from Italy was really expensive, which everything in Switzerland is expensive. So we didn't do dinner there because it was like 62 euros for dinner, breakfast, and the stay, which was about 20 or 30 euros higher than some of the other places that we were at. But I would definitely take your time, stay at some refuges, and then take a zero and comer. Definitely worth it, and eat as much Italian food as you can. Ballpark. Okay, we got a couple more questions, and then I think it will take us to our hour. Last question about fuel. Did you carry fuel on the plane, or did the guys have for you when you landed? I did not carry any fuel on the plane. Don't think you can carry fuel on the plane. I've never carried fuel, and if I needed it, I would have just taken it from them. I never even used my cook stove one time, to be quite honest. When I was in the JMT, I just bought fuel when I landed. Ballpark figure for the trip. Well, I can tell you exactly how much money that I spent because I actually figured it out. From the time that, from me getting to the airport in MSP till completing the TMB, this is not included, the flight, but food, and staying at, we stayed, I think, at 3 campgrounds, 1 refugio, 2 refuges, something like that.
4 campgrounds.
4 campgrounds. I spent about $700 US, food, everything. So it was about $100, a little less than $100 a day. Now,
You had 2 times, 2 dinners.
I did have 2 dinners in Comayer, which was expensive.
And in Champex also.
And Champex, yes, I had 2 dinners in Champex too. So I did eat quite a bit because I just wanted to eat and try the food, the culture of the food. So, but for me, it was somewhere right around $100 a day is what I was spending. I've spent about $700 or $800 so far on the trip here in Germany, and I got in last Sunday. So, well, that wraps it up. Thanks everyone for coming on here for our Q&A. I'm gonna spend here the next 5 or 6 days here in Germany. Where are we going tomorrow? What town are we going up to tomorrow?
Nuremberg.
Nuremberg?
Nuremberg.
Okay. And we are going to what's famous about that area? I forgot. What'd you say? We're just
It's the old town.
old German
Castles
town.
and
Castles.
walls and the Nazi stuff.
Yes. So that's what we're doing tomorrow. Today we went to Neuschwanstein. And had a chance to be able to go through the castle, which was really cool. And we also went to one of the German Nazi concentration camps, which was definitely eye-opening with what had happened there and what they've done to kind of remember that area and everything. Now we're going to Berlin on Wednesday. We're going to see the Germany game. So Germany plays South Korea. And if they win, they should be able to make it past the qualifying round into the finals. We're gonna go to the public viewing, which will be absolutely crazy. So that will be really fun. We're gonna spend both Wednesday and Thursday in Berlin, kind of doing similar things, seeing the town, seeing the history of Berlin, and there's probably some castles and things like that nature. No castles in Berlin. That's tomorrow. And then Friday and Saturday, we're going to hang out back in their home area where it's his sister's birthday, volleyball tournament, and drinking a bunch of German beers. So it will be a lot of fun. One question that we had from someone was, can you guys post your gear list on your site or somewhere where you guys can see it? Do you guys have a gear list or anything like that you have?
You can set up it.
You can set up it? Okay, yeah, we'll figure something out.
Yeah.
So, and by the way, Pacemaker, if there's any folks out there that are German or can speak and read German, Pacemaker actually wrote a book in German about his AT through hike. What's the name of the publisher that publishes
The
this?
publisher is Outdoor, in German it's Verlag, so the outdoor publisher. I also had a book of them right on the TMB where we were. It was very useful, and I thought after doing the AT there were so many people that did trail magic, that did hitchhikes for us, they carried or gave us water when we needed it. And in Germany there's no German book about the AT, so how you could prepare yourself and what will happen on the AT. So I thought this would be the best trail magic I can give the future AT hikers in Germany or maybe Austria, Switzerland, the German speaking ones. And yeah, so I wrote the publishers and they say, okay, let's do this together, and yeah, in the end of July there will be publish my book, and I hope I can help some future hikers with this. But yeah,
I will. So when this goes live, I'll throw something on the channel. So those of you out there that do speak German or are from Germany and are thinking about hiking the AT, you'll be able to catch his book. I just wish I could be able to understand it because I don't read German yet. I only know German and English. So anyway, guys, thanks everyone for staying tuned in. It's going to be a fun last week. I have so much incredible footage from the TMB. We will be posting it probably somewhere in the next week and a half. I want to make sure I take my time to be able to edit some of the stuff, but I am going to do, of course, like I've done in the past before,
a couple of sections of the TMB, so like part 1, part 2, something like that. But what I also will do is, this is a idea that Pacemaker gave me, is do the entire hike, all the highlights, and compress it in a 2-minute video. So I'm also going to do that. And in addition to that, we are going to do a bloopers video of everything, all the crazy things and funny things that happened during our hike. So all that to come here on the channel in the upcoming weeks. Hope you enjoy it. Hope you enjoyed the Q&A here. If there's any questions that we didn't get to, make sure you comment below. And before I leave Germany, myself or the Germans, we'll make sure we take a chance to answer them all. Have a great night, everyone. We are going to get to bed. It's 11 o'clock here in Germany. And we'll see you guys soon.
Bye.
Ciao.
Ciao.